More on our Fox News alert this Sunday morning. ISIS believed to have executed the 21 Coptic Christians kidnapped in Libya around New Year's.
If true, this would be the 13th deadly attack against Egyptian Christians in the past year and would bring the death toll to 50.
Now, joining us from Jerusalem with reaction is former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, nice to see you this morning. First, your reaction to this latest news on these Coptic Christians.
Well, it's a horrible tragedy, and it's not something that is completely maybe unexpected. The Coptic Christians have been under attack. They were under horrible attack during the time that the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt during that period of time when the United States picked the wrong partner. Things have settled a little bit more there, but I think we need to understand the threat of terrorism is not limited to just one or two places in the Middle East. It's all over the world. And these Coptic Christians are especially targeted because they've had an unusual faithful adherence to their faith. Thank God for people like President al-Sisi in Egypt, who has stood with them, actually went to one of their churches, which was unprecedented and an incredibly bold move. But Egypt is now saying that their people need to come home. That's the only way they can be protected.
Well, so I wonder, I mean, the U.S. government, the State Department are so keenly aware of the persecution of certain groups around the world. To what extent has the Obama administration weighed in on behalf of Christians in the Middle East facing persecution?
Well, what they've said about Christians is that Christians 1,000 years ago did some horrible things during the Crusades. They seem to be completely unaware that Christians are being murdered, that in the Kurdish territory, up in the upper part of Iraq, Christians are routinely beheaded. Hundreds of Christian children had their heads cut off because they refused to renounce Christ. This is the kind of treatment that Christians are getting at the hands of Islamic jihadists. And just this morning in Jerusalem, I was asked a question by a reporter, do I worry about Islamophobia? And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? It's not phobia to recognize that there are fanatical people who will cut the heads off of innocent journalists and children. That's not phobia, that's reality. And I think that some members of the world press and many of the White House don't seem to be able to have a dose of reality.
Governor, these awful images are just saturating our TV screens recently, whether it was James Foley, the journalist, beheaded, whether it's the pilot burned. We saw others in cages, and then all the Coptic Christians about to be beheaded here. It's so awful and vile to look at these images. We don't want to become numb to it, but are we going to keep seeing this?
I think we are going to keep seeing it. The only way we can deal with it is to attack it head on and to be ruthless in our pursuit of getting rid of these animals. Here's the thing that I want people to understand. As horrible as it was for the Nazis to do the just murderous assault against Jews in World War II, the one thing you got to say, the Nazis did their best to keep it secret. They never wanted people to see Auschwitz, a horrible place I visited 3 times. They lied about it. They never accepted, they never told everybody what they were doing there. The difference with these jihadists, they're not only willing to tell us, they record these heinous acts. They put it on the internet. They want us to see it. They're proud of what they're doing. They're unashamed in the slaughtering of innocent people. And this is a level of barbarism, a level of savagery that we've never seen before, and I hope we don't become numb to it.
So, Governor, you, of course, saw what happened yesterday in Copenhagen, Denmark, where an apparent jihadist shot up a free speech seminar and also shot someone outside a synagogue. We're covering this pretty deeply on Fox because we think it's important. It reminded me, though, of something that Susan Rice, our national security advisor, said the other day about the threat of Islam and the media coverage of it. Listen to this.
While the dangers we face may be more numerous and varied, they are not of the existential nature we confronted during World War II or during the Cold War. We cannot afford to be buffeted by alarmism and a nearly instantaneous news cycle.
We can't afford to be buffeted by alarmism. In other words, the press is hyping the threat of Islamic extremism. Curious remark from the National Security Advisor, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's so off the mark. The fact is, do we doubt for a moment that if the jihadists could kill us all at one time that they would? Of course they would. And for her to say that there's not an existential threat, of course there is. The only reason they haven't taken more lives is because they haven't had the weaponry or the personnel. but they've increased from 20,000 to 200,000 just with ISIS. Add that to the murderous foundation of the Muslim Brotherhood, to Al-Qaeda, to Boko Haram. You start putting all these groups together, and they're growing, and our sense of it is weakening. This is insane. Yes, there's an existential threat. They want to kill us. They want to kill all of us. And if we don't understand that, then God help us all.
And you're there, of course, in Jerusalem, where Benjamin Netanyahu has just called on all Jews living in Europe to move to Israel. What do you make of that, Governor, before we let you go?
Well, I understand what he's saying, because the Jews have been through this kind of horrible situation before when they were hunted down and murdered. And he's saying to many Jews in Europe, terrorism is not isolated to the Middle East. It's global. It's happening in Oklahoma City, Fort Hood, in Copenhagen. And the one place that Jews can be protected is in Israel. That's what he's saying, and I can't blame him a bit. And he's probably dead right to say it.
Governor Mike Huckabee, live for us from Jerusalem. Thanks a lot for joining us, Governor.
Thanks, Governor.
Thank you.
Coming up next, more on our top story this morning, terror in Denmark. We will see more attacks like this, and what threat do we face here at home? A member of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force joins us coming up.
And frantic moments after a bus driver passes out behind the wheel.
Open the door, open the door. You all right?
Bystanders rush to help, but the door's locked. How they managed to save him in time.
This Valentine's Day.